In the vast flow of human history, some figures emerge like a sudden flash of lightning, brilliant and powerful, yet vanishing without a single trace left behind. Melchizedek is such an entity. Without father, without mother, without genealogy, who is this man that even the great patriarch Abraham would bow his head in respect? His presence in the sacred texts is brief yet seismic, challenging our understanding of time, priesthood, and the very nature of the divine connection to humanity. Before we can understand his mystery, we must travel back 4,000 years to a time of tribal wars and the birth of a new nation. He appears out of nowhere, standing on the hills of history, a figure so majestic that the sounds of war seem to fade in his holy presence. To solve this enigma, we must peel back the layers of tradition and look into the silence of the scriptures that have puzzled scholars for millennia. The encounter was brief, but its theological weight would ripple through every generation that followed, creating a code that stayed hidden for thousands of years. Was he a mere mortal king, or was he something far more significant? A manifestation of the divine or a bridge between two different worlds of faith? The records are silent about his birth. There is no mention of his death. He simply is, a perpetual priest in the heart of the biblical narrative. This lack of origin is not a mistake, but a profound message. It speaks of a power that does not rely on bloodlines or earthly inheritance. In every language he is mentioned, his names carry the weight of justice and serenity, contrasting sharply with the violent world into which he first stepped. Why, to look into the story of Melchizedek is to look into the very origins of spiritual authority, long before organized religion or established laws ever existed. While other kings sought glory through conquest, this man sought to bless. While others built monuments to themselves, he stood as a monument to God. Abraham, the father of many nations, had just returned from a rescue mission, his hands stained with the reality of war and the weight of victory. But here at the Valley of Shava, he would meet someone who would change his perspective on the spoils of war and the nature of blessing. The King's Valley, known as Shava, becomes the stage for a divine appointment. Abraham leads his weary men, laden with the treasures recovered from fallen kings. The dust of battle still clings to their garments. They have survived a perilous journey, yet the atmosphere shifts from tension to a sudden, sacred calm. From the gates of Salem, a city whose name promises peace, steps a man who does not carry a sword or wear the armor of a general. In his hands he carries bread and wine. These simple elements, thousands of years later, would become the ultimate symbols of sacrifice and a new covenant. This was not a common meal. It was a ritual of restoration. The King of Salem provides sustenance to the weary, a gesture of grace before law. The wine represents the joy of victory and the promise of life. Melchizedek serves Abraham, an act that suggests a hierarchy that transcends earthly politics. Abraham, who spoke directly with the Almighty, recognizes in this stranger a representative of the Most High God. A moment of profound recognition passes between them.
Blessed are you.
The King
by
of
the
Salem
Most
blesses
High
the
God,
patriarch. In the ancient
possessor
world,
of
the
heaven
greater always
and
blesses the
earth.
lesser, establishing Melchizedek's unique and superior standing in history. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. His words were not just a greeting, they were a divine decree of protection. Salem, the predecessor of Jerusalem, was more than just a capital. Under Melchizedek, it was a sanctuary of righteousness in a world of pagan chaos. While others worshipped the sun or stars, Melchizedek served the El Elyon, the Most High. He was a priest of a God who owns everything. In response, Abraham does something unprecedented. He gives a tenth of everything he has. This is the first mention of the tithe in the scriptures. By giving this tenth, Abraham acknowledges that his victory didn't come from his own strength, but from the spiritual authority represented by the King of Salem. The stars bore witness to a contract that was older than the covenant of circumcision, a spiritual priesthood that would outlast all earthly empires and kings. The bread offered was the fruit of the earth, but the spirit behind it was from the heavens. It was a meal of destiny and purpose. This meeting was not a chance encounter. It was a deliberate revelation of a higher order of worship that did not require blood sacrifices or complex rituals. As the fires of the camp burned low, just the presence of this King of Peace remained, leaving a mark on Abraham's soul that would never be erased. It was a touch of the eternal, a moment where the physical world and the spiritual realm intersected in the person of this mysterious kingly priest. And just as quickly as he arrived, he departed. No history of his reign, no record of his battles, only the memory of his blessing and peace. He left behind a legacy of silence that would scream through the ages, demanding an answer to the question, who was this man truly and where? Even today, the Valley of Shaveh keeps its secrets, but the name Melchizedek continues to resonate in the hearts of those who seek the ancient truths. He was the original archetype, the king who serves and the priest who rules, a combination of powers that many would later try to claim. To understand Melchizedek is to understand the secret code of the universe, a message of peace delivered in the middle of a world at war. Yet every name in the Bible is a key, and Melchizedek's name is a double-edged sword. To decode him, we must look at the linguistics of his title. Melchi means king, and Zedek means righteousness. Together they form the title King of Righteousness, a standard that no earthly ruler could ever fully meet. He is also the King of Salem, which means the King of Peace. Righteousness and peace are the two pillars of his mysterious and eternal kingdom. In the Jewish culture, genealogy was everything. It was your identity, your legal right to land, and your proof of being part of the chosen people. Yet for Melchizedek, there is a purposeful silence. No mother is mentioned, no father is named. He appears as if he had no beginning of days. This was not a historical oversight, this was a theological statement. Melchizedek represents a life that exists outside the constraints of human birth and death. He is the priest of the Most High God, not by bloodline, but by the power of an indestructible life. His authority is inherent, not inherited from others. Earthly priests came and went, their service ending at the grave. But Melchizedek stands in the scriptures as a figure of perpetual, never-ending spiritual service. His silence regarding his ancestry is his loudest message. He does not need a pedigree to prove he is holy. His holiness is seen in his actions. While every other biblical hero is defined by their fathers, Melchizedek is defined only by his relationship with the Almighty Creator, the Most High God. He is the Alpha and Omega of the priesthood, a prototype of a higher order that would only be fully revealed many centuries after his brief appearance. Scholars have debated for ages, was he a pre-incarnate appearance of the Messiah, or a man so transformed by God that he became a living symbol? The mystery is part of the message. By not knowing his origin, we are forced to look at the spiritual reality he presents, rather than his human history. Melchizedek is the code that unlocks the transition from the law of rituals to the law of the heart, from the physical to the truly spiritual. He stands at the intersection of history and eternity, beckoning us to understand that there is more to the story of God than just human lineages. His name is mentioned in the Psalms, a prophetic whisper that a new king would come, one who would serve in the order of Melchizedek forever. This order is not based on temple rituals or animal sacrifices, but on a spiritual connection that is as old as the foundations of the world. To look at Melchizedek is to see the face of the eternal. He is a mirror reflecting a truth that is too bright for most to see. Hidden in the silence of the Genesis account is a treasure of knowledge that waits for the right moment in history to be fully understood by all. His life was a spring of water in a desert of war, a reminder that the Most High God always has a representative, even in dark times. The Melchizedek Code is the ultimate authority. It is the signature of a king who rules with perfect justice and a priest who brings perfect peace. His kingdom was Salem, but his influence is universal. He was the king of a specific place, yet he represents a kingdom that has no borders. By remaining outside the law of Moses, Melchizedek proves that God's grace is not limited to one nation or one specific period of time or history. He is the exception that proves the rule. He is the mystery that invites us to look deeper into the heart of the divine mystery itself. As we decode his name and his silence, we begin to see the outline of a much larger plan, a bridge between the beginning and the end. For centuries, the spiritual life of Israel was defined by the tribe of Levi. Theirs was a priesthood of elaborate rituals, heavy laws, and endless animal sacrifices. The Levites were chosen by bloodline. You were a priest because your father was a priest. Yes, it was a system built on heritage and strict physical requirements. But Melchizedek represents something entirely different. His priesthood is not based on a legal requirement concerning his physical descent, but on the power of eternal life. The Levi system was temporary, a shadow of things to come. It required a constant stream of sacrifices because it could never fully take away human sin.
Keep the pace.
Melchizedek's order, however, was about a
now.
direct
Hurry
connection
along.
to God. It was a priesthood of blessing and peace, predating and eventually superseding the law of Moses. The author of Hebrews makes a shocking claim. When Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek, the entire future tribe of Levi still in Abraham's body paid tithes too. This act proved that the Melchizedek order was inherently superior to the Levite order. The ancestor of the Levites recognized a higher authority in the king of Salem. While Levi dealt with the blood of animals, while Melchizedek offered the symbols of bread and wine. One system focused on death, the other focused on life. Melchizedek did not need an elaborate temple built of stone. His presence made any place a holy ground, and his blessing brought the presence of God. The Levite priesthood was flawed because the priests were mortal. They died and had to be replaced. Their work was never truly finished or complete. But Melchizedek stands as a figure of a priest who lives forever. His intercession does not stop, and his authority does not fade with the passing years. He is the bridge between the old and the new, showing that God had a plan for a universal priesthood long before the nation of Israel existed. The Levi system was for a specific people and time. The Melchizedek system is for all people and all time. It is a cosmic, eternal priesthood. Abraham's choice to give a tenth of his spoils was a recognition of this eternal truth. He was investing in a kingdom that would never pass away. Why go back to a system of rituals when you can have a system of relationship? This was the question that the mystery of Melchizedek asked. Melchizedek was anointed by God himself, not by the hands of men. His mission was to prepare the way for the ultimate king and priest. The Levi tribe guarded the earthly tabernacle, but Melchizedek points toward the heavenly one, where the presence of God dwells in its full, unshielded glory. This opposition between the two systems is not one of conflict, but of progression. The physical led the way to the spiritual, and the temporary to eternal. Every time a Levite priest offered a lamb, he was unknowingly pointing back to the bread and wine of Melchizedek and forward to their ultimate fulfillment. Melchizedek was the anchor in the storm of history, holding the promise that God would one day rule through a king of righteousness and peace. His priesthood is one of mercy, not just judgment. He meets Abraham not with demands, but with gifts. This is the hallmark of his superior order. To enter the order of Melchizedek is to step beyond the boundaries of religious tradition into the very heart of the divine character of the Almighty. The Levite priesthood eventually faded when the temple was destroyed, but the order of Melchizedek remains as vibrant today as it was in Abraham's time. It is the priesthood of the morning star, a light that never goes out, guiding humanity toward a destiny that is far greater than any ritual. By comparing these two systems, we see the genius of the divine plan, using a mysterious king to foreshadow the greatest king of all history. Melchizedek is the silent hero of the scriptures, the one who shows us that true power lies in blessing and true royalty lies in righteousness. As we look at the opposition between Levi and Melchizedek, we see the transition from the old world of shadows to the new world of light. For thousands of years, the full story of Melchizedek was hidden in the shadows. But in 1947, a discovery in the desert changed everything we knew. Inside the caves of Qumran, ancient jars held secrets that had been preserved for 2 millennia.
They must be very
These were the
old.
Dead Sea Scrolls, a library of lost wisdom. Among these fragments was a document known to scholars as 11Q13. It wasn't just a copy of scripture, but a startling revelation about the king of Salem. The Qumran community saw Melchizedek not just as a historical king, but as a celestial being, a heavenly judge who would appear at the end of time. In this ancient text, Melchizedek is given titles usually reserved for God himself. He is described as the one who will execute the divine judgment of Elohim. He is portrayed as the leader of the Sons of Light, a supernatural warrior who will defeat Belial, the spirit of darkness and chaos, in the final battle. Sent to the Essenes, Melchizedek was the heavenly high priest who would offer the ultimate atonement for the sins of the righteous in the last days. This 11Q13 code suggests that the mystery of his identity goes far beyond a simple human life. It hints at a cosmic, angelic, or divine nature. Why would an ancient Jewish sect believe this about him? Because his lack of genealogy suggested he belonged to the world of the angels, not humans. The scrolls reveal a missing link in theology, a bridge between the physical priest of Genesis and the eternal cosmic priest described in the later scriptures. Each fragment recovered from the dust adds a new layer to the mystery. Melchizedek was clearly a central figure in the mystical thought of the time. He is the vindicator, the one who restores what was lost and brings about the jubilee of the heavens, where all debts are cancelled forever. The scrolls describe him announcing the year of God's favor with a blast of a celestial trumpet, a signal for the liberation of the spirits. This vision of Melchizedek as a supernatural judge and priest aligns perfectly with the silence of Genesis. He is truly a being without an earthly end. He is the Melchizedek of the heavens, the king of righteousness who rules from a throne that is not made of stone or gold, but of light. The Dead Sea Scrolls prove that the mystery of Melchizedek was not a minor detail, but a fundamental part of the hope for a future savior. They show us a community that was waiting for a leader who combined the power of a king with the holiness of a priest of the heavens. In 11Q13, Melchizedek is the one who will return the heritage of God to his people, acting as the true heir of the entire creation. The secrets found in these caves remain some of the most profound evidence that there is a spiritual history running parallel to our physical world. Melchizedek is that history personified. He is the guardian of the divine code, the one who waits in the scrolls until the time is right. His presence in the scrolls is a testament to his enduring power over the human imagination and his central role in the plan of the ages. As we examine these manuscripts, we are looking at the fingerprints of a mystery that has survived for over 2,000 years in the desert. The Dead Sea Scrolls don't just solve a puzzle, they expand the mystery, showing us a Melchizedek who is much larger than the pages of Genesis. All these ancient clues, the names, the silence, the scrolls, lead to a single, transformative connection in the heart of the New Testament scriptures. Melchizedek is the type, and Jesus is the antitype. The king of Salem was the shadow, while the Messiah is the substance of the reality. The author of the book of Hebrews spends entire chapters explaining this code. He argues that Jesus is a priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Just like Melchizedek, Jesus did not belong to the tribe of Levi. He was from the tribe of Judah, the tribe of the kings, not priests. In Jesus, the two separate offices of king and priest are finally united forever. He is the ultimate Melchizedek, the true king of righteousness and peace. His priesthood is superior because it is based on an indestructible life. Death could not hold him, and therefore his service to humanity never ever ends. The veil that separated people from the divine is gone. Like Melchizedek, the Messiah brings us directly to the Most High God without need for rituals. The bread and wine offered by Melchizedek find their ultimate meaning in the Last Supper, where they become the body and blood of a new covenant. This is the theological inheritance of the King of Salem. He was the guardian of a truth that would one day set the whole world free. The mystery of his identity is resolved in the person of Christ, who remains a high priest forever, exactly according to the ancient kingly pattern. Melchizedek shows us that God's plan was always universal. Before there was a law for one nation, there was a blessing for all of the nations. Righteousness leads to peace. This is the Melchizedek Code. You cannot have true peace without first having the righteousness that comes from the Most High God. His priesthood is not about rules on stone, but about a law written on the heart. It is a transformation that starts from the very deep inside. Melchizedek was the root, and the Messiah is the fruit. One planted the seed of the eternal priesthood, and the other brought it to full harvest. He is the proof that there is a higher order of reality, a kingdom that is not of this world, yet is very present in our history. To understand the order of Melchizedek is to find the key to the entire biblical narrative. Right from the first king to the very last judge. He was the architect of Salem, the city of peace, but he was also the herald of the New Jerusalem, the city of the eternal light. His order is a moral compass, guiding us toward the Most High and away from the temporary idols of power, wealth, and earthly human glory. Every time we seek justice and peace, we are acting in the order of Melchizedek. We are becoming part of that ancient and eternal royal priesthood. The influence of this one mysterious man is like a ripple in the pond of time, growing larger and larger until it touches the very eternity. In the end, Melchizedek is not just a person to be studied, but a pattern to be followed. A life of righteousness, service, and profound peace. The Messiah took that pattern and made it accessible to everyone, inviting us to enter the order of the King of Peace and live forever. The mystery of Melchizedek is finally solved in the light of the eternal King. The code is broken and the path is now open for all. Melchizedek remains standing at the crossroads of history and myth. He is a reminder that some truths are far deeper than our human historical records. The sand of the desert may cover the ancient paths, but the spiritual reality of the King of Peace continues to speak to every new generation. He is the enigma that invites us to look beyond the physical world and to search for the eternal patterns that govern our lives and our destiny. Was he a man of flesh and bone, or a visitor from another realm? Perhaps the answer lies in the faith of those who follow his way. He left no grave for us to visit, only a blessing for us to carry. He left no lineage, only a legacy of righteousness and peace. What do you see when you look at the story of Melchizedek? Do you see a ghost from the past or a promise for the future? The mystery continues, and the code remains for those who are brave enough to seek it. Thank you for exploring the mystery of the Eternal King.